Welcome back, hunters. I'm the SurvivalVis, and we return to monsterhunterworld Iceborne, where the newest monster has just been released. Well, a few days ago. The new frosty boy, the Frostfang Barioth, is out. And although right now it looks like I'm using his bowgun, it's actually already available for layered weapons. So I'm actually going to use the light break gun, and we're just going to go into a hunt, show him off as a fight. He's a pretty interesting monster. He might not bring that much new himself to the table, but he does set a little precedence for what we may see in the future for more Monster Hunter updates. So what we're using right now is going to be the light break gun, which is the Raging Brack light bow gun. Basically the full Brackedio or Raging Brack Beta Plus set with, actually we are going to use a bit of Frostfang Barioth, which is going to be the waist. And I think the reason I did that was because of, that 3 slot in the second area. The reason I did that is because we very rarely seem to get not weapons, but armors that use 3 slots anymore. They used to be one of the things you really wanted to aim for because they were such a rare thing to get, but I think that's kind of changed a lot with how Iceborne is. But this is kind of our decoration loadout. We won't use anything in the evasion temporal, but I like the 3 on the second slot because it takes one 4 slot away from being taken up by a 4 shot or a pierce or a spread or any of the kind of raw boosting jewels. So we've kind of got a loadout like this. For stat-wise, we'll just quickly swoop our way into there. Yeah, so full attack boost, full agitator, full health, full release. A lot of pretty easy stuff. The sheath, I figured we'll just build for it anyway, so we've got a pretty nice set built up. And this is just a layered armor for, actually, mostly, I think, just Anjanath. We don't really have a low-rank armor that actually looks like nice, fluffy, that you'd expect for winter gear. But surprisingly, the Anjanath set, if you change the fur coloring instead of the black to, like, a bright white, works pretty well. I think it kind of fits in for the snowy theme that we're kind of going with for today. So we're just going, again, hop into the hunt, show off Frostfang Barioth, and talk a little bit about what we may see in future updates for Monster Hunter. But I guess I shouldn't call it, like, future updates. More, think of, like, side updates. Like, let's go back to the Safi'jiiva update, because we got Safi'jiiva, and we also got Stygian Zinogre in it. And Elatrian, we were supposed to get Elatrian and Frostfang at the same time, as sort of like a lead-in one to go after the other. Of course, there was a little small thing that some people don't remember called the global pandemic, which caused a delay and some issues there. So, it seems like we might see, with future updates, 2 monsters released. One kind of like this big header monster of sorts for endgame. You really work and put all your effort into taking it on. It is a true challenge to just kind of push your limits even further. And then another kind of, I guess, how do I want to call it? Complementary monster might be a good idea. Like Stygian for Safi, Frostfang for Elatrian. So the next update, if we do have another big kind of header monster that is the main focus, we may see another small addition along that. And we'll probably talk about what that could be after we're back from this hunt. So we want to do the last white knight. Everything's... Oh, we'll go to Central Camp 7 because he always spawns in the Barioth nest. He always spawns up in that little area. We got plenty of ammo. My recommendation... Actually, we'll even test that right now. One of the things is Frostfang kind of puts you with a new debuff. Where is it? There we go. Called Frostbind, where it basically kind of locks you in place. Your hunter does the little wiggle worm. He can't move, and that basically lines the Frostfang up for an immediate attack of probably its strongest ability or strongest striking move. Now, the little tips in the loading screen has said that the Iceproof Mantle will help reduce some of the effect. So my guess is you'll probably get stuck in place, but you won't be stuck in place long enough to actually, unless you don't move or actively try to get out of it, you won't be guaranteed that hit from Frostfang. Like, will it even be in here? Not quite, so. Anyway, we'll go in, we'll do this Frostfang hunt, show you guys it, and it fights a lot like regular Barioth does, but even regular Barioth in the story mode could be quite the wall, and I can understand easily why. It's the first monster you really encounter where a part break becomes an essential means of helping you fight it, as well as until that is broken, it is a daunting thing to go up against. Like, imagine fighting a Barioth that you couldn't break the wings of. I think that would be an incredibly tough thing to keep going up against. So we just want to run into where he starts off. We will get the track, because I think I still need to get the research levels up to max for it. But yeah, so you can see he's just roaming around his den right now. What we're going to do is, you know what, we will get another track just to help. Yeah, there he is. He's a pretty interesting model, it's just that he's kind of a bit bland for coloring. So, one smack and into the wall. Now, probably a lot of actually skilled light bow gunners knew this, but it's more efficient to actually do 2 attacks like this while he's down than trying to do the 3 in smack, because you get more damage out from it. Yeah, there's the kind of frost... Oh, we actually got stuck in it, so we didn't quite get the effect of being hit by his strongest attack, but it shows. You kind of get stuck and do this weird worm animation. And Frostfang does have some neat little things that... Okay, that's probably the big one to be on look for. And this is what we wanted. Yeah, okay, so number 1, definitely try to break the wings as soon as you can. The fight becomes so much more manageable if you are able to get in there and break the wings off. Now, I do have the Ice Blight, which is going to make this build a little hard to get as easily loaded up, because we use the evade reload a lot for the Raging Rack light bowgun. It almost, in some ways, I'd say it is essential. Ooh, very good Runa. Another thing, don't underestimate a status weapon on your Palico. I know a lot of people like taking the paralysis, but I've found I probably get a little bit more out of them bringing the sleep, because that gives you a little breather, you can catch your breath, reposition, resupply, and even get off another sling or flint shot into the wall. And from there, we'll be able to get off these 2 another Tenderize on the other side. There we go. Yeah, and another thing too is he is actually not enraged right now. Oh. Yeah, that's going to enrage him. I was hoping we could have gotten him into the wall before he got mad, but not quite. Yeah, once the legs get broken, he really becomes just like a normal Barioth with a few tricks to him. But until they get broken, he can be a daunting fight even for an experienced hunter. I think the biggest thing is the ice, or the Frostbind. Yeah, see, this is where, and this is the ultimate attack, sort of. It will rip your health to nothing. We'll probably figure out soon. Yeah, I think we'll probably get into the Frostbind. This is actually one of his neat attacks. He almost sets up like a bowling alley lane. He sets up that bowling alley lane, and he'll do a variety of attacks. He's not limited to just doing one or the other. So you may have it where he'll do basically an ice blast. Or other times where he will do like a leaping, kind of a spin at you. Okay, yeah, so you do still get affected by it, but you have some more mobility through it. But you do have to remember that it does sometimes have a follow-up if he does the super leap. It usually hits, I'd probably say it hits twice more often than just once. Oh, and there was the kind of ice blast I mentioned earlier. But as you can see, it's more... I think it's more the Frostbind that just makes the fight more annoying than anything else. Like, Frostfang is a pretty interesting fight. It's just that, yeah, that Frostbind is probably the... I don't think it adds as much to the fight as you might think it does. Okay, but there are the other legs broken. we do have to heal again. Because the thing is, this light bowgun, even with it having the health or the health regen augment, you'll still probably get kind of stopped up by Frostfang a bit. Just going to try to do that, get a little bit of tenderizing on that head. Because you can break the head twice. Each tusk has to basically be broken, I think, if you want the rewards. Or the full rewards for it. Okay, well, at least we were able to get the second tenderize off before he roared us away. Ooh. Well, we actually didn't go down with them, but we did manage to get that other tenderizing attack off. Oh, Lord. I forgot, he was enraged, so he will follow us wherever we go, even if it is just up here from where he went. Yeah, yeah, it is too. It's just that there's sometimes a delay, so that way it can be a bit harder to read if it will be a second one. Oh, crap. Yeah, that's the problem. It's almost like a guaranteed, if you do get caught in it, you are going to get hit. And I don't know if I like that mechanic all that much. Because it sometimes feels really cheap. Yeah, that was actually a cart, but thanks to the Vigor Wasp we use. But that's my problem, is I'm so torn on whether I would actually consider the Frostbind a good addition. Or, you know what? I think I'm going to say I don't. Because it's too fucking annoying to get stuck in every second. I don't think the Frostbind's a good way of implementing a new challenge to the game. Because it doesn't really add that much. It just says, oh, you stepped in the wrong spot. You now get punished. It'd be different if there was, like, maybe a slower time to build up before, like, the permafrost set in that would lock you. Think almost like Velkhana when she does the tail breath. Actually, or is that... see, I don't really actually hunt in melee that often. So I don't know if it's an immediate lock like Velkhana or not. My guess it probably is, and they just reused that from Velkhana. At least for Velkhana, it's only the single attack that... There's actually some pretty long choreography that you know, okay, don't be that close to it. Frostfang's... Okay, I was trying to figure out, where did it go? Yes, there was the first one. There'll be this... Oh, no second? No second. Maybe it's only when it's enraged it'll do the two in a row. Yeah, I can see a lot of melee hunters, or, well, it used to be called Blade Masters, but I could see that this guy causing a lot of trouble because of the Frostbind with that. I mean, they do have the added benefit, they get more, physical resist than, Gunner does. Let's stop you from doing that, and send you into the wall. There we go. Now let's... Oh, come on, getting around that arm. We probably won't get the tenderizer like I was hoping. Although, are we actually getting a little bit of a slugger effect from using the initial... Ow. That was dumb of me. I should have just gotten off that. Ow, come on. Oh, right, because the stupid area uses a single key. Okay, there are some very obvious design choices, one of those being... Ow. God damn your reach. Oh, come on. Do I like Frostfang? Not overly. It's an interesting idea, it can be a good fight, but it also has a lot of frustrations you can quickly and rather easily get caught up in that takes away from the experience. There we go. Okay, so there's both tusks broken. I don't think that actually changes all that much in the fight, though. Yeah, so it kind of sets the alleyway up that you're basically stuck in the middle of unless you want to get the Frostbind effect. I think the reason why I dislike the Frostbind is it's one of those mechanics where you are not given a fair way of actually, like, engaging or counteracting it. Like, if I try to pull an example off my head here. Oh, son of a... Even Alatrion's actual elemental discharge, or the Eschaton Judgment, you have an active way to interact with it. Granted, it is a little convoluted until you get all the... Oh, really? That was a knockdown? Until you actually get all the information from the hunter notes in-game about which element it's weakest to in what state. It's not that interactable, but it still has a means of being kind of counteracted, or you have an active way of engaging with it to make it not as bad. The Frostbind for Barioth, though, does not have that. And that is, I think, where its weakest part is. If you have a part of a monster where you have no interaction with it, and it's basically like you're forced to have this occur. Like, think of even Rajang. He can grab you with his... Or regular Rajang has his throw that it can grab you with. But you still have the means of using slinger ammo in order to get out of that. So that is still an active method of interaction. Whereas the Frostbind, you don't get anything, even with the Iceproof Mantle, that's what I'm looking for. You don't really get that interaction. It does negate a little bit of it. Actually, probably wouldn't even say negate, because that intends you actually get something completely shut off to it, but you don't get that with the Mantle. We saw what it does. It reduces some of the impact. So I don't know if I would really give Frostfang that high of marks. Interesting idea, possibly good concept, but it just gets pulled off in a way that makes you feel kind of irritated more as you keep going with the fight, and the same thing gets you over and over. Okay, let's blow you up a bit. Yeah, I don't have an evasion on, so that rolls a little harder to dodge out of that roar. I'd probably say if you are going to gun him and want an easier time with the light bowgun, to go with... Oh, good work, Runa. To go with the elemental kind of sets and use fire or flaming ammo. It still goes through them. It doesn't quite feel... I think it takes a little longer for you to notice it, but I do think you would get a much faster and probably less stressful clear with it. As long as you can keep your distance, though. There we go. Oh, that was it. Basically, pistol whip to the completion. So that was our Frostfang Barioth hunt. Do I think he's going to cause problems for a few people? I think so. I think the Frostbind is going to really get a few people stumbling and going, this is some BS. Why? It's not fun. It's not engaging. It's kind of stupid. I admit in some ways it is stupid, but he's kind of an okay supplement monster. I think Stygian Zinogre was a much better one. It gave you the same kind of feeling of fighting a Zinogre. Well, they both have the distinction of fighting the same monster. Stygian, though, feels quite a bit different, though, than a regular Zinogre. Frostfang only feels different because he's more punishing to you if you're in the wrong place, or you're too slow. So he's kind of a mixed bag for me, but when we get back, we'll go take a preview of the armors, look at the light bowgun. I don't think it's anything super special. Like, it could be an okay bowgun if you are trying to go after a Latchian as the special assignment still, because of the flaming rapid fire it will have. Ooh, lord. 1, 2, 3, 4. That would basically be the armor set right there. Yeah, because it's an event quest, you get I think it's a Frostfang ticket. Oh, there we go, perfect. You get a Frostfang ticket, and each piece of the armor and the weapons need Frostfang tickets to make. I think it's 3 pieces, or 3 tickets to build a weapon, 2 to upgrade it from the tree it's along, and each armor piece costs 1 ticket. So we'll go into the smithy, take a look at both the armors. I don't think the armors are going to do much for gunners. I think we're still probably going to be waiting until we see a new sort of Apex gunner set, if one ever comes out. Like, I think in Monster Hunter World, the base game, I think it was basically Xenogivas was your sort of go-to meta gunner set because of the spare shot it gave you. We still... Narga you could probably use for the true, but I think it doesn't have enough slots, where we'll get into a little bit of talk and see what we might see next for the complementary monster. Okay, so we'll start with the armor. Yeah, so here we go. This is the Frostfang Barioth Alpha Plus, and this is the Beta Plus, although for some reason that's not showing up as well as I thought it would. I guess probably because I have that layered armor on. Let me just change that off for a moment. There we go. Yeah, so this should show up much better now. There we go. Okay, so... yeah, so that's the Alpha Plus version. Looks pretty good, and the Beta Plus version. I'd probably say, looks-wise, the Alpha Plus is really nice. But for utility and slot-wise, I'd have to give it to the Beta Plus. Because the Beta Plus has 3 slot, well, a 4, a 2, a 1, a 4, or a 2, a 4, a 4, a 4, 3, 1. It just has much more options come the armor set and what decorations you can equip than the regular Alpha Plus. I mean, the Alpha Plus is probably going to be good for somebody like a hammer or a greatsword, where it's the first initial draw attack and you're charging it up to unleash. Like, I may even... you know what, I think I may even actually just make the helmet, because I do like the look of the Alpha helmet much more than the Beta helmet. So that's that. As for the weapons... we'll just take a look at the light bowgun. You guys did see it in action, that is what I was using. Oh, maybe I have to do augment, because it is probably at the highest end of its upgrades. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, well, actually I'm using it right now, but it does have the option of the silencer, which is the weird kind of like toughy front to it, which I don't prefer. You can remove the long barrel, but my favorite is easily the long barrel that has basically the serrated Barioth tusks attached to the top and bottom, which is nice. As for what it can use ammo-wise, is kind of small and limited. Like, you do get 4... Actually, I think that's because we may have the release on it, but you do get 4 shots of spread ammo 3. The big draw, I think, is definitely the freeze ammo, where you get 5 shots of it. It does have a very slow reload, though. That's one thing that I don't think you can actually change. I think it's locked in to take that long, so... It's kind of hard to say if Blizzard Gust will find a spot or not. I honestly don't think so, just how it feels to hunt with, or just looking at the stats. I'm probably very mistaken. Like, I'm not a meta gunner, I'm just a fun gunner. I just care about trying to see what works and what doesn't, and have a little bit of fun to see there, but... Anyway, that's the Blizzard Gust. I do think this probably will be, if you're still struggling with Elatrian, do see if you can go along, and can you actually make the... I thought you might have been able to actually make the... Oh, you can. things like the Greatsword here, where it has the incredibly high ice element and pretty good sharpness for it. Things like those will probably help you with Elatrion if you're still stuck on the special assignment for it. And its armor set may help for, like, the punishing draw for people who like that playstyle, like a Greatsword getting the first draw, hold, super attack, but I don't think much we'll really see it outline the meta that much. I think it's more the precedence Frostfang is setting for what we may see next. Because if we look at the large monster guide, we've had Stygian Zinogre to go with Safi'jiiva, and we've had Frostfang to go with Elatrion. I actually need to update that, so I'll just head over there. But it makes me think we are going to see sort of a subspecies or variant complement every headline monster we're going to see per update. We did get Raging Brachydios, and although I think there was a lot of hype that people had themselves for Furious Rajang, it didn't pay off as much as I think it was going to, or people thought it might. Like, Raging Brack was easily the headliner of that update, but Furious Rajang was still added on as a complement. Yeah, so just all that, so it makes me think we may have possibility of seeing more complementary monsters, but the roster of what we may see is pretty limited now, because if we look, I'm probably thinking it'll just strictly be Iceborne things. I think we may see a Nargacuga variant or subspecies as the next complementary monster. Glabnus already has a subspecies of the acidic, so I don't see that. We may see a Tigrex, but I'm less likely to think so because we already have Brute Tigrex in game. We saw Brachydios get Raging Brack. Shrieking Fulgur was for regular Anjanath, Amni for regular Odogaron. So it's really the only monster I can see that has a feasible sort of variant or subspecies kind of tied in that's lacking a spot. It could even be we'll get a Narga next and then a Tigrex next, or maybe it'll be those two, because we could still get something like a Molten Tigrex. Brood, I think, kind of lost some of his personality. Like, one of the things about the original Brute Tigrex in Portable 3rd, which I kind of pirated onto PSP in order to experience it, his roars were a much more defining characteristic than this version of Brute Tigrex. He still has the Roar Beam, which is new, but aside from that, I don't think the roars are quite as impactful, at least from a gunner point. And with it being already a Tigrex and Brute Tigrex, I think it's less likely we'll see an addition to that. So I am thinking we are probably going to see an addition of some kind of Nargacuga variant, subspecies, etc. And I think it may be more gunner focused, like it might give us that true Razor Sharp and true Spare Shot? Something like that I think we'll see next. What they'll do with it, though, I don't know. They could pull back from the past with new Lucent Nargacuga, I think it was from 3 Ultimate, or I don't know if we'd actually really see something like Silverwind from Generations Ultimate. I think we're more likely to see kind of maybe a mix or something that shows Nargacuga more projectile-based. Because regular Nargacuga right now isn't superly projectile-based. It will use a few, but it's nothing super outright. I don't think we'll see Lucent because I don't think we'll really get a poison sort of meta towards the kind of base end where we're at, or at least kind of this tier of monster it might come out with. It might be a Narga that might more easily inflict bleed, or who knows what. We'll have to wait and see, but I do feel if they are going to keep these sort of complementary monsters included with headliner updates, it will probably be a Nargacuga of some kind. But anyway, thank you guys very much for joining me on this episode of Monster Hunter World Iceborne. Frostfang can be quite a hurdle, and it can be frustrating. Just remember to try to take a breather every now and then, and reassess. I think more you're going to want to aim for probably raw defense over ice element resistance, because I don't know if it's an ice element that the ultimate attack is. It may be because we are -9, so you guys, my advice would be if you're feeling like you're getting a little too heavy hit from him, try mixing up with a little bit. Like, try more mobile weapon, or better yet, as long as you're not hit by, if you're getting hit by the Frostbind, sorry, I don't know why I keep screwing that up. If you keep getting caught by the Frostbind, try going distance-wise a little more with something like a bow that you can more agilely dodge backwards. I think the biggest thing and the hardest challenge is, if you're going to range Barioth or Frostfang, you need to keep your distance, and you highly need to break those wings and front legs as soon as you can. It makes the fight much more bearable and tolerable. But we'll leave this episode here. Thank you guys very much for joining me. If you have any tips or found this useful at all for going after Frostfang yourself, be sure to leave a like or comment right down below the video. I'm always hoping to get feedback from you guys and see how my fellow hunters are doing out there. Until I catch you all in the next episode though, survivors and hunters alike, please remember to take care and stay alive.